Microsoft versus Sony E3 2016. Who won? Well, neither won in my opinion. I feel the two conferences were quite equal and it really depends on what you like as a gamer. Here are my highlights, opinions and reviews of both conferences and my pick as quote unquote winner. Firstly, while some of these games will appear on both consoles, I'm going to talk about the actual briefings and what each company showed, as this is more about the briefings as a whole. Xbox, I give their briefing a solid 7 out of 10. They went with their usual style of show a game, talk about it, show a game, talk about it. While this offers more depth to each game, it can be very frustrating stop-start type of hype. You want to be carried through a briefing like this, not have to fight your way through it. So Xbox definitely get a point in the win column for not only announcing new games, but 2 new consoles. The first being a completed, faster, slimmer Xbox One, the Xbox One S. While this could be seen as a gimmick of sorts, it definitely is a step in the right direction with their outdated Xbox designs. With the integrated power supply, a bigger hard drive and fitting that into a console that's 40% smaller is an excellent move. With these design choices, I have hope in Project Scorpio, the quest for the most powerful console on the planet. All technical jargon aside, what the hell is a teraflop? It sounds great and powerful, and basically we are aiming to create and handle 4K quality games through a console. If it is pulled off, then we will be seeing something special for console gaming. The Xbox briefing fell apart for me personally when they focused on Gears of War. I am not a fan of that game at all, but I do understand how vital it is for the Xbox versus PlayStation war. However, this is my video and my opinions, and Gears really slowed the pace for me and killed my hype. The game looks beautiful and will be epic for fans, but personally I was just bored during this segment. Announcing a new Gears controller and introducing a character into Killer Instinct is great for those Gears of War fans out there. Speaking of controllers, they have brought in a design lab with the ability to customize and buy your own controller styles. It's a bit gimmicky, but I can definitely see the appeal. A couple of notable games were shown. The trailer for Ironside, a game from the creators of Limbo, Mafia 3, the Tekken 7 trailer were all shown and all were awesome. Halo Wars 2 was announced, which is another game series that is a big announcement for fans of the game. I am personally not one. And a bunch of independent games was also shown. Dead Rising 4 was shown, but that game is becoming more of a joke game than a real game now, even though it does look hilariously fun. Forza Horizon returned for the 3rd installment, boasting incredible graphics and with the ability to seamlessly jump into someone else's game without any load times is absolutely epic. It is set in Australia and the scenery and graphics look beautiful. You cannot complain about that. Now onto my personal highlights and what I am looking forward to from Xbox. Firstly, Gwent. The Witcher 3 in-game card game is being made into a standalone game. I have never been into standalone card games, but it is something that I've wanted to explore but never really had the time to do so. So I can appreciate how epic this game must be to Witcher fans and Gwent fans. It is a game I am willing to at least try and experience. Sea of Thieves take on the life of being a pirate. Whether you find an island and chill with your rum or fighting other ships in insane battles, don't forget to plug those holes before you sink. I have no idea how expansive this game will be, how many people can be in a server at once, whether you can upgrade to have bigger and more powerful ships, but I am definitely looking forward to finding out. The art style is different and just beautiful, and the level of fun to be had in a game like this will be epic. Recall was shown and looks like an interesting take on a futuristic styled world, travelling with robot buddies who all have different abilities while fighting other robots. There looks to be some interesting platforming and puzzle solving as well as a great combat system. Really looking forward to checking that game out. One of the standout games I saw and liked the look of was We Happy Few. Set in an awesome 1960s British post-war era where we actually lost the war, this freaky, strange game looks like we can make choices to change the outcome of the game, but don't quote me on that, it just looks like that. The game shows us a kind of world where you are forced to take the joy emotion through tablets to forget the world that they live in / their past that they experienced. Not taking the tablet leads to a breakdown and eventually becoming a downer with weird, freaky hallucinations. Or maybe that's just them being sucked back into the actual real world, a la Matrix style. Boasting a unique art style and a unique concept, this game looks to be something special, and I will be enjoying it as soon as I can get my hands on it. Final Fantasy 15 and Battlefield 1 were also shown. We've seen so much about these games already though. They both look amazing and furthered the hype for their respective titles. Two games I'm a massive fan of and really am looking forward to getting my hands on. We saw in-game footage of Scalebound, boasting great graphics and incredible team-based co-op boss fights. This game looks like it could be challenging as well as a lot of fun. The co-op aspect really pushes the game forward and changes it from your hack and slash single player game to a multiplayer leveled game where tactics and teamwork will benefit you. The idea of pet dragons is something we have all wanted too. Last but certainly not least, we saw State of Decay 2. And State of Decay, the original game, was a sort of like realistic survival game to do with zombies where you had to build like a home and recruit people, go out and find people and bring them back to your base, feed them, look after them, keep them clean, keep them, you know, just keep them alive, and then they go out and do tasks for you and collect things while you go out into the world, kill zombies and do what you want to do too. The ultimate survival zombie game, and they have made a number 2, and this game looks like it will be awesome and one of the main games to look out for during this Xbox briefing and in the next year, because if this game is done right and is put on a pedestal much higher than the original game, this could be the game of the year. State of Decay was awesome, State of Decay 2 is going to be better. And that's the Xbox briefing. You know, there was nothing that really wowed me or made me go, oh my god, this is amazing. They had a lot of solid content, a lot of solid games, a great briefing. You know, the whole production quality was okay. It wasn't bad. There was no cringiness. There was no jokes. It was just a solid 7 out of 10 briefing. So unfortunately I did miss some of the PlayStation conference, but I am looking over their E3 trailers on their YouTube channel too. Sony started their conference with a big live orchestra performance, really stating that they have an epic conference on the way, and the live music stayed throughout the conference for all the trailers, and that was a clever, subtle engagement with fans and really pushed their performance quality way ahead of what Xbox done earlier in the day. They also had a lineup of games where talking was a minimum, so it was just game after game after game trailer, keeping us involved and engaged. In terms of presentation, for me, Sony wins the battle by a mile. We started out with a surprise visit from Kratos, a new God of War game looking incredible in terms of graphics. The details on their hair had me excited to no end, like ridiculous detail. Showcasing a more Tomb Raider feeling of adventure, and now also having Kratos' son as an apprentice / helpful character, we really have seen an evolution in the God of War franchise, and I believe we will see his son take over as the mainstay character sooner rather than later. The fighting seems reminiscent of God of War old, but seems to have an improved battle system, and the graphics and atmosphere really has me excited for this game. Some notable games we see are a brand new Spider-Man game, looking like an open world adventure and developed by one of my personal favourite companies, Insomniac. This game has great potential, but I will wait for more details because Spider-Man games have been epically bad in the past. The Last Guardian was shown and is one of the most hyped games for a lot of fans. I am not really into it, but it is a huge win for PlayStation in general, especially with a release date announced. Bound looks like a unique puzzle style game, and Hawken looks like a really fun mech based combat game. Lego Star Wars was inevitable and looks great, but personally I am not that excited for it. There are no announcements of a new PlayStation console, however we did get a real look into how VR can be incredible. PSVR was announced and will support 50 games from launch day until the end of the year. That is an incredible achievement, and also the price of the VR didn't seem too pricey for what it is. When I think of VR, I think of a gimmick, just a cheap way to get people hyped up for something that doesn't really deliver. However, the trailers for some of the games on PSVR look really epic, and I am thoroughly impressed with it. Here They Lie puts you into a VR city filled with horror and nightmare. playing on those immersive senses in the best way possible. Looks like a real game changer in the jump scare potential of horror games. Farpoint looks like an incredible action / exploration VR game where you can explore and battle these unknown planets' inhabitants. We see the announcement of Batman Arkham VR, something I am incredibly interested in after being a comic book fan all my life and a fan of the Batman games. A VR experience is all I've ever wanted in the comic book world, and with the Joker being a main part of this game, it already is winning regardless of VR. Final Fantasy 15 also announced the ability to play as Prompto in what looks like a small section of the game. Fighting enemies from range with Prompto and his guns has me wanting to experience this because I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan. Resident Evil 7 was also announced in two different ways. One, a full game released as we could play and enjoy an experience, but you can also play the entirety of the game from start to finish in VR, which is an insane, incredible step forward in terms of gaming. We also got to hear that Crash Bandicoot is being remastered, which is something that fans have been crying out for years. Crash is also being added to the new Skylanders game, where we can see Crash in all the glory that we could only have ever dreamed of. Ah, that nostalgia feel. Now onto my personal highlights. And we have to talk about Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. While I fell away from the series in recent years, all the controversy surrounding this game recently had me interested in what they were going to show. It looks better than I expected in terms of gameplay. I just hope that multiplayer is less of that floaty space stuff, and I was a little bit disappointed by the graphics, but all in all I think it looks like a solid, unique, different style of game that may just surprise us all. Horizon Zero Dawn was showcasing its gameplay, and this game looks phenomenal. Learn about enemies' weaknesses and use whatever you have to combat them. This looks like an intense, challenging game with really beautiful graphics and environments. The corrupted really do seem to want to kill you, and that is rare in a game nowadays. The fights seem like you could be killed at any point. The female heroine seems accessible to me, and I can really get behind her and her character development. The story could turn out to be something phenomenal just from seeing the small conversations we saw in the gameplay. The battle system seems fluid, and the ease of access to weapons and abilities look great. Also, you have a companion that you can call into battle. It feels like a real mix of futuristic types of enemies and technology fused into an old styled world with bridges, wooden settlements and greenery all around you, and that is special. Death Stranding was teased by the legendary Hideo Kojima. Partnered up with Norman Reedus, we know the story of PT and Silent Hills and how Konami fired them all. But Kojima started Kojima Productions and has clearly continued that work from PT and Silent Hills and has made a really freaky, weird looking game. The trailer left me wanting more and left me confused as to what just happened. The graphics on this teaser looked phenomenal, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing more, and hopefully the horror that PT showed us is incorporated into this game as well. Next is my personal favourite of the Sony conference, Detroit Become Human. This game looks mind-blowing. In terms of graphics as well as concept, you take on the role of a negotiator, an android negotiator. As the situation develops, you have an almost unlimited amount of outcomes to that situation, depending on your research and your choices. Reminding me sort of like Heavy Rain and LA Noire, this looks like to be a real contender for Game of the Year. They only showed one scenario where an android gone rogue has a girl hostage and it's your job to save her. With the choices you making going wrong, you can have her killed or have yourself killed. You can even make the choice to save her by suiciding yourself, or you can just talk him down and save everyone. This looks like endless replayability. I only hope that it's not just one scenario and there is a full story based around this unique concept. Truly an incredible looking game. Days Gone was the closing segment. After an earlier trailer, they showed full gameplay of this game, a zombie survival game on the level of Dead Rising in terms of enemy counts, with a serious undertone of survival and an intense sequence of events in the specific gameplay that they showed. I was literally screaming at my monitor for the person to run instead of battling. And if it inspires that kind of reaction just watching the game, I can't even imagine how playing it will feel. A real open world feel to this game with gorgeous graphics and intense moments. Looks like it could be something truly special. I have probably missed a few games out here and there for both conferences, so I apologise. But who won? Well, for me personally, as a gamer and what I like, PS4 and Sony edged it. Both conferences had amazing content releases and were almost equal in what they showed in terms of new games. PSVR looks insane and was a huge announcement, but it was really dwarfed by the announcement of new Xbox consoles and what they want to achieve in the future with Project Scorpio. The PS conference had a better feel to it and kept me engaged and excited, with a real emphasis on the epic feel to it, with the Xbox conference really feeling more business-like. The opening games really swayed it for me. I'm not really a Gears of War fan, but I am a massive God of War fan, so that really set the tone for both conferences for me. But each console has amazing news and goals ahead of them, with some really creative games being developed. I think the real winners are us, the gamers. Let me know down below who you thought won and why, and please keep the console wars to a minimum. I know it's going to happen, but just really have some respect and just really think of logical answers and comments, please. Also, tell me what game from either of the conferences you think is your favourite game and why. This video is based solely on my opinion, so let's hear yours. I have been Easy now, and you guys have been awesome. And what would be awesome is if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and of course that like button. You help me out so much with your support. I love you all. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.